Hello, everyone. Today on Courageous Custody, how to use professionals' portals as evidence in your custody case. Hello, everyone. I am Renee Rodriguez.
And I am Audra Tarfa. This is a great topic to dive into. Let's do that today.
Yeah, but first, a reminder, we're not giving legal advice or therapy.
And if you're feeling triggered, we want you to take care of yourself.
So today we're going to talk about how to secure and preserve relevant records directly, how to highlight professionals' observations of concern, how to present portal information strategically through your attorney, and looking at this through a trauma lens. So I think, when we talk about securing and preserving relative records directly, professionals' portals, what we're talking about, doctors' portals, like clinicians' notes, we're talking about therapists' portals, we're talking about school portals, which really have a lot going on with them. They're going to have homework, they're going to have days on and days off, calendar, schedules, elective classes, misconduct, who's tardy, and that type of thing, notes from the teachers, any kind of stuff that's coming up, and it's going to have it dated and by the day. So there's a real treasure trove of evidence here, and it does contain crucial information like that, but it's in those records. And remember, when you go into court, they really just want to see two problem parents. They're going to see you, they're going to see your co-parent, your lawyer, your co-parent lawyer, and they're really just seeing a lot of bias. It's that third-party stuff that really can move the needle in court, and these portals are part of it. So you don't want to rely on your co-parent to share these things. You want to proactively gain access because the co-parents will shut you out, and you want to be sure that you are sharing access to these things. Make sure they have the information they've got. You're not their secretary. Once you've given them the instruction they need to have as much access to the portal as they're supposed to have, your job is done. Of course, you should be conversing with them like a co-parent, but you're not their secretary. So you also want to be sure to securely download or print relevant records. You want to show where things are, where they were changed. I have had clients where their abusive co-parents have bullied or badgered the professional into changing what's up there. And I'm seeing it more and more. So as soon as you see these things, capture them, get that screenshot, download it, whatever you need to do. And then, of course, it would be interesting for you to capture or download a change, especially if you can tie it to an email that your co-parent has written or a conversation. You just want to ensure that you have complete and unaltered information regarding your kiddo's well-being, regarding your co-parent's interactions or lack thereof, or any concerns raised by any of these professionals. Preserve them carefully. Note the source. Note the date that you obtain them. You also want to highlight the professionals' observations of concern. So focus on documenting entries within these portals that corroborate your concerns about your child's safety or well-being due to the other parent's actions. You're really looking for patterns here. So this could include notes on injuries, behavioral changes right after their parenting day, missed appointments by the other parent, or communications from school staff regarding the co-parent's behavior. It could be there. Any of these types of observations. I had a mom whose teachers basically wrote that every other Monday, this child would come in and just sleep far longer than anyone else during the nap. And the dates that they were recording these things every other Monday happened to be after the abusive parent's weekend, right? And so it's easy to tie things together. You're looking for patterns like that. And the direct observations from these neutral professionals will carry significant weight with the court. Now, you also want to present this portal information strategically through your attorney. Like raw portal data can be overwhelming. It may be very clear to you because you've gotten used to it, but I think it's important to go back and remember when you first started using this portal, where were your confusions? What did it look like to you? Where did you need to learn to look? That's the kind of stuff that you need to highlight either digitally or if you're printing it out with a highlighter so that your lawyer has it easy. You don't just want to hand something to your lawyer believing that they know where to look. You should always prepare everything as thoroughly as you can for your lawyer. So you're going to want to work with your lawyer. You want to strategically present the relevant information from these portals as exhibits or as evidence. And your lawyer can help you contextualize the information. Like, how are you going to use it? Connect it to your legal arguments and ensure it is properly introduced according to court rules. They can also subpoena for the professionals if it's necessary to authenticate the records, right? I'm talking about how your co-parent can change things around or bully a professional into changing something. You can find out information about that. It was originally this. It was changed. It was after this conversation with the abusive co-parent. And they can even possibly provide further testimony based on their portal entries. Although I'm going to say it's very hard to get school staff, school professionals to testify in court. But yes, you guys are really looking for the patterns and you want to get clarification for professionals as well for where it's needed. You want to figure out what do they know? What can they say a little bit more about? And there are different ways to go about that as well. You can email and ask for these things to get it in writing, which is better, or you can work with your lawyer to figure out what that could look like. You also want to look at professionals' portals through a trauma lens.
Absolutely. When working with those portals, they can be really overwhelming and confusing. And so that can cause a trauma response of just shutting down and freezing, right? But these portals can become those key sources of evidence like you're talking about, especially because courts can misinterpret or selectively use this information. So it's really crucial for parents to understand how to present it effectively, how to trace those threads and those patterns. And when it comes to these custody battles, when it comes to having to deal with a school portal or a therapy portal or a doctor portal or any of those types of things, that overwhelming sensation can interrupt calm and clarity. There are parts of us that can really get hyper-focused on gathering evidence that really we really need to capture this information. And those parts can feel responsible for proving their case and ensuring that your child is safe. But what can happen also is that if you don't get to capture something or you miss something, the other parts can react with frustration, panic, because a report may not be documented accurately. There might be inaccurate reporting on the other parent side that you can't really counter, or things can be misinterpreted, or any of those biases that can come against you. These parts really can get activated. And so we want to make sure that you're not, getting so hyper-focused on gathering all of that evidence that you don't have some self-compassion, that you don't understand that you're going through something that is really, really difficult. How can you do this without the emotion attached? Really sort of the logic parts that are non-reactive, because those wounded parts, those ones that are carrying the injustice, the powerlessness, the feelings of being re-traumatized when professionals fail to advocate for your child's best interest, those parts are the ones that we want to help protect. And not in a way that's driven out of fear, not in a way that's driven out of panic, but in a way that is focused on gathering the evidence while at the same time maintaining your sense of compassion for yourself and for your child. So we can do this by accessing that self-energy, that overwhelm, defense, hopelessness feeling when you're facing a court system that misuses mental health records or that misuses any sort of these evidence that is in these portals. The self-energy can be accessed. Like Renee said, get copies of those records, making sure that you are in those portals, that you are the one that is documenting, that is communicating when it comes to the notes, the evaluations, the school reports, the medical records. You have an idea. It's probably something that you already are doing. Let's be honest. You already have a full picture of what's going on. So just keep at that, right? Just because of the fact that you're in this court battle now and there's an extra lens on you, that's that pressure to meet this expectation. But I want to say you're likely already doing these things. So keep at it. Keep at being the mother that you are without the emotion that's attached to it. And that can help you identify those inconsistencies where details are omitted, or it can help you highlight concerns about the co-parent. I have this one client that every single time communication was done, the subject line would be changed in the reply. So the other parent kept changing the subject line over and over and over again, which made it really hard to track. So those inconsistencies, as long as we hold on to clarity and seek that clarification, then you're going to be able to access more of that self-energy to be calm, to present that evidence calmly. Because courts may dismiss emotional arguments. They may dismiss, even though your facts are there and the evidence is there, they can possibly, because remember, there is bias in the court. So they can possibly dismiss that. So making sure that your attorney and you are presenting that evidence calmly, getting that expert, that legal review, having that attorney or that custody expert assess how to frame that evidence in a way that aligns with the legal standards, and really make sure that you're preparing for that cross-examination. Be ready to explain any findings without appearing blaming, judgmental to the other co-parent, just really, I'm here for my child. That way you don't come off overly reactive or defensive in that fight or flight trauma response that we often always see.
Yep. All right. Yeah. For this week's episode of Courageous Custody, we have some great takeaways for this week. Make sure that you secure and preserve relevant records directly into these portals, and look for patterns to highlight the professional's observations of concerns. And then, of course, looking through a trauma lens, what takeaways do you have, Atra?
Yeah, again, remember, courts are relying on documentation, not emotion. So just make sure that you are presenting and looking through these portals in ways, even when you're communicating with these portals, you don't want to blame the other parent to the professional in the portal. These are things that we don't want to do. We want to just keep the focus on the child and keep that the primary concern, and doing it in a calm, clear, compassionate way. Yeah. So next week, join us again, 7 p.m. Eastern here. Like or follow or bookmark us so that you can get those notifications, because what Renee and I are talking about might catch you just when you need
And
it.
leave your own comments below. Until next week, stay strong, stay informed, and keep fighting for what matters most. Bye-bye.
All right, everybody. Bye.